The risk is that brands confuse volume with quality. And so AI can absolutely help you make more content, but if you don't have a clear testing strategy, if you don't have brand guardrails and measurement, um, you're just going to create a lot more mediocre content. And so I think that the winners will be the brands that pair speed with really good judgment.
What's going on in the TikTok world right now with Seedance, with Symphony Suite?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Cam. So for anyone who hasn't heard of them before, the TikTok Symphony is essentially TikTok's AI creative suite for advertisers and for brands. You can think of it like a toolbox that helps brands create content a lot faster. It can help with things like script writing, video editing, translation, avatars,
Hmm.
and now it's even generating video content itself. And so Seedance 2.0 is the AI video model behind some of those capabilities. And so if Symphony is the toolbox, you can think of Seedance as one of the engines powering it.
Yeah.
It's basically ByteDance's own video generation model, which means that TikTok isn't just partnering with another AI company, they're actually building a lot of this technology themselves.
Hmm. Really interesting. Really interesting implications there, which is why we're having this discussion. So, Ali, I mean, I think a good maybe first question would be, is AI going to replace creators? Knowing that AI
Mhm.
is improving so drastically, that Seedance 2.0 is a pretty wild model just from the things that I've seen come from it.
Yeah.
Will AI replace creators?
I don't think AI replaces creators wholesale, but I do think that it replaces certain types of content.
Hmm.
Um, as you know, there is a big difference between a creator as a person with trust, taste, distribution, a whole community behind them, a personality, right? Versus content as an asset that brands need to quickly test. And so AI is going to be very good at generating that second thing.
Hmm.
Things like product demos, variations of hooks, simple explainer videos. Maybe it's an offer driven video, um, avatar content, remixing existing assets. I think that's a huge one. That stuff is going to get much easier and a lot cheaper. Um, but the reason that creators work, and I think this is an important point to make, is that it's not just because they make videos, it's because they have credibility.
Right.
They have a point of view, and their audience believes them or at least finds them entertaining enough to continue watching it and coming back to their channel. AI can certainly imitate those formats, but it does not have earned trust.
Hmm.
So my view is AI will replace a lot of low differentiation content production, but it will not replace the best creators. I think if anything, it may make the best creators more valuable because the internet is about to be flooded and kind of already is with a lot of average looking AI generated content.
Yeah.
And so the people who can actually break through, especially with humor and specificity or a real community, it's still going to matter quite a bit.
Hmm.
And so I think the more interesting shift is that creators and brands will probably use AI together. Creators might use it to ideate faster, to localize their content, or to test formats. It's used as an augmentation tool.
Yeah.
And so I think brands might use it to really fill in the gaps between those creator campaigns. And so the future to me is less AI versus creators and more, well, AI can help me increase the volume of content that I can create. But creators are going to definitely remain the trust layer.
Hmm. It's interesting. I mean, to think about the implications for just how far AI will go as it relates to content creation. I've my perspective with AI has always been like, if this is the worst it's going to be, and it's only going to get better from here, that's a wild thought to think about, especially as it relates to content creation. But
Yeah.
no matter how good it gets, being able to replicate that trust,
Mm.
that is, like you said, a completely different ball game.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
hard to
that's
do.
something really important to keep in mind as content improves, as AI generated content improves over time, keeping in mind what can we use it for as it relates to this area. So, well, why, Ali,
Mhm.
why do you think TikTok is investing so heavily into AI then?
I think it's because TikTok's biggest constraint is not, ad inventory, it's creative supply.
Hmm.
And that sounds, maybe simple on the surface, but it's actually the whole game. Brands can have a budget, they can have a lot of products, they can have a media plan. Um, but on TikTok, if the creative is very stale or it doesn't feel native to the platform, as we spoke about in our last podcast,
Yep.
it usually does not matter how much money you throw behind it. TikTok is not like a static search where you can make a few variations of an ad and run them forever.
Hmm.
The platform really rewards freshness. It rewards volume and iteration and cultural fit. And so creative fatigue happens very, very quickly on a platform like TikTok. And so I think a lot of brands are just not built to produce um, TikTok native content every week. That's really hard to do and it's really expensive.
Yeah.
They're built around campaign cycles and agency reviews, and you have a legal process, and maybe you even have a quarterly content shoot. Well, that rhythm is just way too slow for TikTok. And so I think that to answer your question, TikTok investing in AI actually makes a ton of sense. A suite like Symphony is basically TikTok saying, well, we need to help advertisers, make more creative a lot faster and in formats that feel native to our platform.
Right.
And so the Symphony tools include things like script generation or avatar videos. There's translation and dubbing. If you want to make a video in multiple languages, for example, there are video editing tools, and it's all aimed at kind of lowering the friction of producing TikTok ready content. And so I think that's especially important for smaller businesses, smaller brands, and even mid-market brands that cannot afford an agency
Right.
or some massive creator production machine. AI, gives them a way to participate. But I mean, even for enterprise brands, the problem is still very real. They might have a budget, but they need more creative testing velocity.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
again,
yeah,
aimed at helping anyone, individual
yeah,
creators all the way up to enterprise, unlock that problem of just how to create more content,
yep,
whether
that's
it's like
exactly it.
generating more scripts or actually creating some video. Helping anyone unlock that helps
Yeah.
create a lot more content on the platform, which will in turn create the flywheel of like more engagement,
More
more.
engagement, more media dollars that
Yep.
brands can confidently spend. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
So tell me, we talked about Symphony and we talked about Seedance, but what's changed like over the last year, just as an example for
Yeah.
these concepts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest change that we've seen is, we've moved from AI helping with creative ideas to actually having AI produce creative assets. And so a year or two ago, I think most AI tools were basically saying, well, here are, 10 hooks, or here's a script, here are some caption ideas.
Yep.
It's helpful, but it's very much upstream,
Mm.
right? And so you still needed someone to shoot, to produce, to edit, to format, basically do all the things to produce, whatever final asset you're hoping to produce. And so I think now we're seeing this shift is towards actual content creation. And so the Symphony Creative Studio is not just about brainstorming. It's, it includes avatar videos and translation and dubbing and remixing and you're generating things that are actually ready to go live. And with Seedance now being integrated, I think TikTok is pushing even further into full AI video generation.
Yeah.
Um, TikTok says that Seedance is designed to bring more consistency, more control, and production speed to video ads. And so, they describe it as multimodal, which essentially means it can work across text, image, audio.
Mm.
Um, And so I think that really matters because the workflow becomes a lot more flexible than what we've seen, maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah.
You can imagine starting with something like a product image. Maybe you already have an existing video. You can turn that now into 5, 10, 20 usable short term or short form video formats. And so the change is not just, well, AI's gotten better. The change is we're moving from help me think of an ad to help me create multiple TikTok videos and keep iterating. I think that's a massive shift.
It's a huge shift. And again, back to the thought of like, if this is the worst it's ever going to be, and it's only going to improve from here,
Hmm.
just the jump from last year to now, and to imagine what now to a year from now is going to be in this space of AI content generation, it's pretty
Yeah.
wild to think about, especially as it
Oh, for
relates to
sure.
TikTok.
Yeah,
So, well,
absolutely.
let's talk about the opportunity for Teikametrics then, because Teikametrics obviously is plugged into e-commerce. We have our
Yeah.
own AI suite. We're plugged into TikTok. So, what is the opportunity here for Teikametrics?
I'll start with what I don't think the opportunity is. I don't think it's for us to become another video generation company. TikTok, or ByteDance, OpenAI, Google, and others are going to be fighting that battle. And so the models are just going to keep getting better. And I think, video generation itself may become more and more commoditized over time. We are definitely already seeing that. That definitely doesn't mean that it is easy, but I don't think our unique value is, well, we also generate a video.
Mm,
And so I think the opportunity for Teikametrics is much more around intelligence and workflow.
mm,
Brands don't just need more content. They need to know which content to create. They need to know which products they should be prioritizing. And they want to know which hooks are likely to convert. What happened after that content ran? Did it
right.
drive my TikTok shop GMV? Did it increase my branded search on Amazon? Did it help a specific SKU move? Those are the questions that we can help them answer. That is
Mm,
much closer to our lane. We already think a lot and very deeply about marketplace performance, product level outcomes, advertising, and of course, cross channel signals. And so, upstream, we can certainly help them generate the right brief. So, we can tell you which products to push, what angle you should test, what hooks to use, etc. And then downstream, we can help them measure what happened. Did your content drive GMV? Did it impact Amazon? Did you see search lift? Did it actually create a business value for you? And so I think the interesting future state workflow is not, well, Teika makes AI videos. It's Teika helps me decide what to make, pushes that into a creative suite like a symphony, and then measures what worked and then helps me recommend what to do next.
yeah. It would be really hard not to bring up the concept of TikTok Halo as a part of this
Yeah.
conversation. If you haven't seen our last episode on TikTok Halo, talking about TikTok Halo, you absolutely should go watch that. But this, obviously, I feel like a natural progression of this conversation is in a TikTok
Mhm.
Halo. So, how does this impact the concept of Halo then?
I mean, I think it becomes more important, especially if AI makes content cheaper.
Hmm.
Because if content can become nearly free now to create, brands are going to produce a lot more of it.
Yeah.
And so, you have more videos, more variants, more paid tests, more organic experiments. And so that really sounds exciting, but it also creates a much bigger measurement problem.
Hmm.
And so if you go from testing 5 videos to testing 50 videos, you need to know which ones actually matter.
Yeah.
Not just which ones got views either, right? You need to know which creative is actually driving real business outcomes. And that is like the Halo problem in a nutshell, right? That is where Halo fits in. And so to me, um, the Halo is basically the measurement layer that makes AI creative actually useful because it's going to help brands answer what did this content really do for my business overall? And
Hmm.
eventually, what do I need to be creating more of?
Yeah, that's really interesting. There's another aspect here that I want to pull out from you, and that's you've been prototyping some really cool technology that you built yourself.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you can outline what that is and also what you've learned through that process.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that the magic is not just that AI can generate content, but the magic is in how much better the output gets when the prompt has a real strategy behind it.
Hmm.
So I'll back up. I built a lightweight TikTok creative brief generator using Claude. And the idea was pretty simple. I essentially gave it structured commerce inputs. So here's a product, a campaign goal, my target audience, maybe a product page link. And then I had it generate a creator brief. So hooks, CTAs, angles, creator direction, what they should emphasize, what maybe they shouldn't talk about, for example.
Hmm.
But the surprising part is not, wow, AI can write me a pretty good brief. Like we all know that AI can write
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're all using it in our daily lives.
Yeah.
But the surprising part to me was how much more the quality changed when I treated the prompt like a real product strategy,
Hmm.
not
Interesting.
just a simple command. And so if you say something like, write me a TikTok idea for this product, well, you're going to get pretty generic AI slop.
Right. Right.
But if you tell it, what type of campaign I'm trying to launch, what TikTok behavior matters,
Hmm.
what creators need to understand, how TikTok Shop differs from Amazon, what an Amazon Halo objective means, all those as examples, then the
Hmm.
output um, starts to feel much more like something a strategist might actually hand to a real creator.
Yeah. That's
And
interesting.
that was kind of like the aha for me.
Hmm.
The tool is really only as good as the thinking behind it.
Yeah. Well, that's really good insight and uh, valuable lesson learned that I'm sure you can apply to in so many ways. But so tell me why would you jump into or start with a brief generator, which is a incredible
Yeah.
piece of tech, right? Instead of jumping straight into something like video generation.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's because the brief is where the thinking happens.
Hmm.
A bad strategy executed perfectly is still a bad strategy.
Hmm.
And so if you generate 100 videos from a really bad brief, well, you just made 100 bad
Yeah.
videos a lot
Yeah.
faster than you
Right.
might have. So,
Right.
and that's the part that I think people miss when they get excited about AI in general is that the video generation, sure, it's impressive, but before you generate anything, you still need to know what product am I pushing?
Yeah.
Who are we speaking to? What pain point actually matters to this audience? What claim is believable? What behavior are we trying to drive? And so those are very strategic questions. And so if you skip them, I think the output is just going to be a lot of noise.
Hmm.
And so I mean, that's why I started with the brief generator because I think it's the connective tissue between insight and the content. And
Yeah.
so long term, I absolutely see a workflow where Teikametrics generates the brief. We push that into a tool like Symphony, and then we use that performance
Hmm.
and the Halo data to recommend what your next step should be.
Yeah.
But
That's
again, the starting point should be,
that
generate a brief that's actually useful.
it's a really good point. And also, it is so easy to get lost in the just because you can produce 100 AI generated videos doesn't mean that they're going to be good AI generated videos.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
starting point of the brain behind it all is really, really important to generate not 100 AI slop videos.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
but so, last question, I think we should land the plane here. What do you think brands should be aware of? Because you're kind of at the forefront of this. You're interacting with TikTok brands. You're
Yep.
building something incredible TikTok related. Like you're plugged into TikTok here. What do you think brands should be aware of, and or also careful of maybe, as AI generated content becomes so much more easy and accessible to use?
I think that the risk is that brands confuse volume with quality. And so AI can absolutely help you make more content, but if you don't have a clear testing strategy, if you don't have brand guardrails and measurement, um, you're just going to create a lot more mediocre content. And so I think that the winners will be the brands that pair speed with really good judgment.
Is there anything else that you want people to know or to think about or remember as we leave this conversation as it relates to TikTok, Teikametrics, anything?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of exciting things in the works. Keep an open mind. Things are changing by the day, it seems.
Yeah.
But we're all over it, and it's definitely a very interesting problem that we want to help brands try and solve. And we fully intend to be at the forefront of it.
It is really hard to keep on top of everything as it changes so quickly. I mean, Seedance is not the only AI that people are using for something like video generation, right?
Hmm.
It's one of many, but it is one that's integrated, plugged directly into TikTok, ByteDance, and these models are grow from the content that it gets fed, right? And being
Yeah,
fed TikTok related content to produce TikTok content is, I think, a very interesting prospect. There's a lot more to
yeah,
come in this discussion and
100%.
other discussions in the future. But Ali, thank you for being a part of this and for helping us stay at the forefront.
Thanks so much for having me, Cam. See you next time.